Hi, I'm Heidi Kumao. I'm a professor at Stamp School of Art and Design at University of Michigan, and I'm here with the Ann Arbor Film Festival to interview and talk about Wenhua Shi's work, who is going to be a juror at this year's festival. Maybe you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm a Wenhua Shi. I'm based in Boston. I'm so glad to be able to join the Ann Arbor Film Festival.
Great. Yeah, so I guess I would just be interested if you wanted to talk about sort of in the beginning of your practice, getting into filmmaking. How did you get started doing the more kind of? I see your work as being very meditative and kind of a note taking on the passage of time, recording time in a lot of different ways in this very kind of carefully composed, using film to observe things that we can't see with our naked eye. And I was just curious, like how you arrived at doing that, some of that work, um, in terms of if you want to say a little bit about your background and how you got started in experimental film.
Yeah, that's actually is a really interesting question. At the beginning, as many people probably have the same path to become the experimental film. Actually, I grew up in China. I came to the United States in 2000. At the end of 2000, and then that time I came to United States. I only want to be like I want to be making narrative films. I want to
Mm.
be Godard. I want to be truthful, like a Chinese New Wave.
Mhm.
About and then I organized some cinema screening before prior to come to the United States, and all those things are probably the most close to experimental cinema is like Lucien Drouda, so very limited to think about as art house films,
Mm.
particularly European art house films. But then I landed in Colorado Boulder, and then one of the afternoon, my wife told me, "Hey, you should check out this local filmmaker here. He organizing the film salon, and then he always show a lot of famous people come by. You should check it out." So I went to the famous Stan Brakhage salon,
Mm.
and then and I was totally shocked and they say, "Oh my God!" I walk in and it's complete dark, and then the film is silent, and
Mm.
then one long take of
Mhm.
probably 12 minutes long take, and then I had to hold my breath for the whole time, and then later on I say. And of course, the salon goes on, and we many people were viewing those films for a long time, and then after screening, nobody talks that much. I think because they have a private party at
Mm.
Stan's places. But then second day, I encourage get my all my strengths back, and they say, "Oh, I'm gonna call up Stan." But of course, Stan's office. So because I try to register class as well, and then he left me a message the second day. He said, "Wow, you might appreciate this screening, but I have different courses for you. But let's start talk at first, and then
Mhm.
later on, I met Stan at all various places in town, like in the coffee shop. He's painting on the on the sunny side, and also shopping at the grocery store I'm working at, and
Mm.
so and then starting to get involved into more of a screenings and that things. I was really intrigued by the how I don't know anything about this, right?
Mm.
And then I have such a strong visceral or emotional react to it. It was like, oh, I could not understand this. Why? I had to throw my hands out of the air and say, well, why did you show this to me? But then
Mm.
later on, I tried to get a hold of and understand it. And it feels like it's really important to just see these things as the individuals, artists' way of maybe expressions and not a really good word to describe the practice. But then at that moment, I think that's really important. I don't need a crew. I don't maybe
Mm.
even read finance for supporting my work, right? So that's what I start, and then I taking various courses with Mary Beth, Phil Solomon, and then I completely abandoned. Well, I was sort of my thesis is still a little bit narrative, but then after that, I completely just think about no, I don't need somebody reenact. Maybe don't need the agent to put the audience mindset into identify the character and those kind of things. I say, hey, just see what in front of me, right? I
Mm.
want to point at it. I want to show you what I see or what I did not see. This so this sort of a long answer to your questions. So that's until I graduated from 2008, 2005, and then I went on to graduate school for art installation,
Mm.
interactive work. So, but I
Wonderful.
still keeping working with the image. Um, Actually, the background of the film is also a funny story. I mentioned I probably did not mention I live in upstate New York for 4 years, and the day I drove out of town, so I made a detour to visiting my friends in Cornell, Ithaca College, and then. Um, uh, John Scott actually has a whole refrigerator of the film inside, and I just make a joke. I say, "Hey, have you ever gonna be finished those?" John Scott says, "Oh no, this is in there for 5-10 years, which is the 2016. So which is at that moment I say, hey, you know what? I take all of them and maybe make one film to dedicate to you. But of course, I did not
Oh.
put on the film because. But then I able to get all the films and then carry the film um, with all my stuff and then to Boston. Um, so that's how the first uh, um, 10 roll or so of a film comes. And then I was really intrigued by the light quality in the winter, up whatever upstate or Boston. I have a dog. A dog will find all sorts of sun during the winter time, shuffle around the houses like through that so I say, hey, look at this! How interesting the Sadie, my dog's name, will be finding those moments, right? So
Mm.
like a way she needs. So I would say, well, maybe I should starting observing the sunlights and casting shadows around the houses, because sometimes the weather will be brutal, a lot of snow. So, but then all the trees, without the leaves and actually allows light. So the first impression of a sunny day is coming too. So I really want to capture those parts. Um, since I don't have that many film to or video to long time to capture the entire process, so more so I decided using the time lapse
Yeah.
or use those kind of ways to reslice the time as well.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think there's just something magical about being able to capture something over a time frame that none of us can perceive, that we can't understand, like a whole day of light passing. It's just too big of um, a time frame. And I like what your work does is really looking at these very kind of small moments that kind of add up to this much bigger, the earth, about the earth and time and rotation and sort of just, I think the way you train your eye and your camera and the composition um, on kind of just beautiful smaller moments that most people maybe wouldn't, most not visual people might not notice. So do you have a preference for, I know a lot of the work is 16 millimeter. Um, can you talk about like when or why you would want to use 16 millimeter over digital, or does that have any effect on the subject matter, or like how do you think about using the different medium?
Uh, I do film. I use the digital as well, and the 16 also. Uh, and my preferences is really what can I access, and then uh, the idea thing is for me. I just don't want to. I prefer more editing in camera, so I can reduce a little bit of the other type of work. So try to be more economic. So in a way, sometimes people give me 400 for a load of expired film. So I say, hey, you should just use that 400 roll to make work. So that's really the my decision point is actually the very economic. Is think about that ways. Second thing is that I do. I don't know the horrible stories like a hard drive crashes or
Ugh,
hard
yeah.
being being stored too long, some code being decrypted, and that happened on me. So I sort of think about the physical. Uh, the evidence could be still there. You know, the 16 might be I can go back to scan again. Even the failure, right? Because I've been already accepting those mistakes or problems, but then retrieve from the hard drive is a little bit harder. Of course, I do back up and do all those things, but sometimes it just happens. I well, I just say, oh, that might happens. I should not. I just don't use those footages. Um, uh, Certain things I cannot using 16. Really like one of a film, one of a piece I did in the Boston City Hall. So that was require a lot of in short amount of time do a lot of things. Uh, so 16 will be another be a good medium for testing all the lights and for moving in the lights or do a lot of elaborate tracking shots. The
Right.
idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are the things that will come in fact. Really think about what the subject will require. Maybe that's the one thing. But
Mm-hmm.
I just think about the medium will for me works. If my teacher or many as me tell my students also say, well, you should shoot more and then decide make a fine cuts. But well, of course, I work in slightly different. I would say,
Mm.
oh, I want to shoot less. I want to make
Mm-hmm.
each shots count.
Yeah, so I guess I would like to talk about that Boston piece and also your newest piece. But I guess a little bit, maybe can you talk a little bit about like your process of um how you when you're shooting or how you're shooting, like do you go to a location and take notes, or do you like how much is sort of just being in a place and taking kind of filmic, be responding to the place in real time, or planning, like what is your creative process involved in making these?
Yeah, so they might have things that happen simultaneously. Some will be prepared, planned, some are not. The Boston City Hall piece is actually uh, as soon as I moved to Boston and then I visit the place, it's maybe pay the parking tickets or something like that. but then that's of course I usually love to see the Buddhist building as well. So that's the one of sites I visited earlier, and also Boston has a grassroots organization. They put out some events at the Boston City Hall at the performance. So that allows me pay more close attentions. And then when the city hall not function as the just normal daily things at the time. So but I wait for at least 5 years to able to get the real permission to film there.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
um, uh, while during that 5 years, and a wise man actually made the film there. So so after his film released, and then we able to get in through I mean we because funded by the nine event, which is grassroots sound experimental sound events. So we have a whole month to work, and then um, particularly that's the time actually is during the pandemic, so we're able to have the entire buildings empty, only the and so we could be doing many things no way to achieve to avoid people there. So so those are many the shots there is planned. We did a site visits, and then we walk through the whole buildings and make schedule for each levels. It's like basement, or you can see the abandoned train station. Those are places restricted, never nobody can access, and also certain engine room. They yeah, so those are made plans, and then we did some animation parts that also pre-planned it. Um, but certain film, my process is very different. Like I go back hometown. I need to do just walk on the street and starting film. But of course, I see certain things. I will take notes and come back and maybe say, hey, maybe this is gonna happen again. So those are the you know uh, win by fly, and also pre-planning. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, that was quite a beautiful film, and also very. I mean, at first I was sort of like, "Oh, wow, there's going to be no people in this," and sort of just the structure, just this sort of very close and careful examination of like the structure of the building and all the different levels and the light, and there was just so much to take in, and it felt like a really carefully constructed piece
right. Thank
that
you.
had all
Yeah,
kinds of access to things, like that really long shot of going up the
mhm.
I don't know, the elevator shaft or something. I don't know what the
Yeah. This
cabling and
just all the cable actually is down the basement, which is every the workers or administrators, and not if it's not the mayors, they usually in that corridors. They just look at the ceilings. Because I just remember the heights of the modernists, and particularly the architecture, is don't bury the pipes, right? They don't hide things. They don't on the trim, don't do the mold. So when I walk through the corridors and then just look up the ceiling and see the wires, and then I do want a certain metaphor with this the center of the cities. So it's like a road, looks like highways. So sort of recall this is even we wouldn't go out. Um, and also the second part is the like any contemporary modernist buildings, they're always controversial. Many people like them, and some people are extremely hate them, right? Because they're concrete blocks, right? The tombstone, yeah. So they always has outrageous reaction to it, depending on uh, your association with the spaces. So
right, it can
uh,
feel kind of repressive or
impressive,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, uh, like a Soviet, my hometown China,
Yeah, right.
and the United States, and Paul Rudolph, and
Hmm.
all places, and then they're not necessarily really functional well based on the living conditions, right? So people could be have so many different types of reaction to it. But I do feel probably it's not my place to make that judgment. So and also the second part, so I just want to really examine them, study them, rather than say, hey, that it's that for certain purpose. Uh, Second one is I feel really think about the building um, is massive. It's a city block, 2 or 3 city blocks. Um, most of the time, people just take a photos, right? You see the reference with the adjacent buildings, and then that's it. You see the facade. So I say, wow, since we have the time to explore these things, maybe we don't see the entirety of the space. Um, so particularly structure the films, you're not gonna see the whole building.
Mm.
So you only can through the fragmented. Uh,
Mm. Sort of
or
add it adds
very,
up over
yeah,
the
as
course of the film. Yeah. Yeah,
so
sort of like being inside a body or something. There was
yeah,
kind of
definitely the
seeing
body.
the
Yeah,
inside,
yeah,
but never the outside. Um, yeah, I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about your latest double projection piece and
sure.
maybe describe what it is for people and a little bit about why you choose to use that form for this
Mhm.
piece?
Yeah. So those the Monosabushi is a Japanese title. Then and this just means the silence and silence. Uh, when I all those shots actually is outtake from previous all the roles, and then what I did explore, and consists of two or three places because of the rental moving from different departments. So it's really hard to use them construct one complete pieces. But then I realized, of course, when I filmed the time, I really see the lights. So I want to just say maybe that subject as the lights as the main subject, just to coming in and go. Um, Constructed the two pieces is because two the side by side, or that's a consideration. I was almost thinking about as a performance. Uh, um, if somebody watched like Andy Warhol's Charles Eagers, they have two projectors, could be up and down and then side by side. So I was when I planning the film, the time has the ideas, so I want to also do a live soundtrack mix. So because of all the images from interior, so all the sound could be all exterior field recordings, and then based on the left and right, I can crossfade them or play with the sound. But then I realized I don't have that many footage, so each screen only 4 minutes long. So sort of abandon the live sound mixing parts, so that's silent. But then if we do the projection, we do allow I do allow the projection to choose. So you want to do double expose and you superimpose each other, or you want a left and right switch and you want to up and down switch. That way it makes the piece a little bit alive based on the locations. So those are sort of think about extended cinema, think about as a gallery space. Uh,
Right, right.
those are the ideas.
Yeah, because in
Uh,
that one there was like toys, maybe dog toys.
and all dog
So
way being talked about.
Uh,
throughout a year, just like every
yeah,
new coming in, dogs dismantle
yeah,
it.
yeah. I have a dog. It's similar, similar
Yeah.
process. It I think the weathering of the, or the kind of like tearing up of the toy over time or something. It sort of measured time in a different way for
Mhm.
me than just the pure light, because it was suggesting like this other being kind of
Yeah.
also being part of the process. Um, but I love the idea of the double projection being sort of variable.
Yeah.
And I think maybe someday you'll have enough you can do a live
Yes.
version of it, which is always great. Because I was thinking also about your choice of sound. Maybe you want to talk about that. Sometimes you have like an opera singer, you have like classical music. With the Boston piece, it was really interesting. Sounded just like it was sounds of the building or people in the building.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about like your choice of sounds or how you think about putting sound and image together? You can maybe
Yeah.
pick a piece or two and sort of use it as an example.
Yeah. The interesting that you mentioned the night, which is the German words the night. Picking up the opera singing is um, they Lucas and now is doing recording the time is just a transition. So I feel very interesting. So, have so hard time to finding the because they are asking me to do one of a sort of a music video for the performance. So I really find a hard time to finding that. But at the moment, I see that entire day passing through, and that's the idea I come with that piece, and then. So that's probably the one piece I use the entire the the musical parts.
So do you have, so for that you had the music first?
I have a music first, and then
Ah, okay. Uh-huh.
really try to find the because the sentiment of that's the last song by the Strauss, the four pieces. So it's a really uh, it's a down of 19th century, the 20th centuries, and then that changes as well. And then after Strauss is the entire 12 tonal, everything break down, like the so the Europe changes so much as well. The very interesting part is that actually, uh, I just side notes is that until 2019, I was able to release that film because the song the Shi music has rights to it. So until 2019, the rights expire, becomes a public domain.
Oh, uh-huh. Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
otherwise you had to pay.
Right.
uh,
Right. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
so very interesting sign notes. So it could be last 100 years longer, right? So
Ugh,
that's a
right.
very interesting part of the
Right.
story.
Right.
Um, so like usually my sound construction is usually through the live film recordings. Um, I move away with the scoring, but because they so much commenting on suggestive, because the the music concrete is probably more important. But of course, I play with the title. The music concrete is a French, the electronic music, the genres. So they tuning, they changing the field recording to create the musical compositions. So that's with the with the architecture structure, the material concrete.
Right. Yeah.
It was that. So that's the one reason I really don't want to bring in any um, composition through the music score. Of course, I was interested in the avant-garde music
Yeah.
experiment as well. So less in terms of the melody or those type of
Mm-hmm.
attribute. Yeah.
Um, I'm wondering. I mean, I don't know. We're almost at time, but do you have any uh, thoughts about like the way you approach the subject of light, or like the use of light as a metaphor, or the way in which you're closely observing things? Like, is that a sort of how how do you think of those things in your mind as sort of like when you're making something for other people to look at, like it goes beyond just like pictorially what's on screen, but sort of like what does it mean to look closely, or what does it mean to observe light in that way? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what does it
Yeah.
mean to you beyond sort of just the material in front of the camera?
Yeah, I think it probably not directly answer the question, but then it's a sort of a my 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 training is more important because of my family. My dad is a biological
Oh.
research, and I went to the medical school. So and when I was young, actually my eyes has issues, and so always I have a train myself or use a device to blocking one eye to look in another eye, and then
Mm.
see the spirals. So I was interested in that other world. Uh, so that those things not appears at the at the beginning, right? Maybe I see the double visions and when
Mm.
kids. So I do feel, and also a lot of time I like the daydream. I just glance through the trees, and then
Mm.
so when I was growing up. So those are for make me to think about maybe I should approach the subject differently rather than um, we'll take the face value.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
maybe linger longer, a little bit
Yeah.
longer. So to see what changes. So maybe those are more important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So so I think uh, back to parts of the training to think about as evidence, see see the things haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
there's sort of a sometimes a kind of ghostly quality to the work, like especially that one where you're recording the window. The what is it? Denocked.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's sort of, yeah, there's a presence to the work, even though there was no person in it. There was a kind of ghostly presence in some of the
Yeah.
work that was really really beautiful.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you want to talk about or mention for viewers
uh,
tuning in?
yeah, I would definitely think about the just hope everybody see this video will come to the screening and come to the Ann Arbor Film Festival, and then we can spending time together watching some uh, incredible work together. Not just me, but then all the works in the film festival as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been really great to talk to you. I guess I have to thank everybody that's tuned in and watched the video. Hopefully, you can come to the film festival either this year or any year in the future. We always welcome you here. And it'll be great to have you as a juror and have you part of the festival uh, in a couple weeks.
Yes.